Hi, everyone. I'm Patrick Hall, Club Advisor of the Disability Awareness Club here at JJC, and I'm happy to kick things off in our first ever virtual Disability Awareness Day video. First and foremost, I want to recognize and applaud the students from the club for all of their hard work and creativity in making this event happen. Kudos to you all. You'll hear from many of them throughout the video, but a quick shout out to Esley Ramos, Erica Nurchek, Mason Patterson, Sarah Farrell, Emma Brown, Juan Zavala, Otis Seabury, Emily Saldivar, and more. Again, great job, and I am constantly impressed with all of your efforts and will and determination to pull this off. Now let's get started. Thanks for taking the time to view and attend Disability Awareness Day 2020. It's going to look a bit different than past years, but the message, goal, and mission remain the same: to spread awareness and advocate for the disability community. In previous years, we host Disability Awareness Day in the U Auditorium on main campus and invite speakers, panelists, presenters, community members, students, and more to inform and educate people on the disability community at both JJC and abroad. What is it like to have a disability? How can we be better at advocating and supporting those with disabilities? How can we help? These are all important questions and bring on great discussion. In my opinion, change in advocacy always starts with a conversation. If people take a minute to truly listen to one another, a lot of great things can happen. So, in short, that's why we're here today. This may be a virtual event, but you're still going to hear from speakers and presenters sharing their perspective, as well as a student panel discussion where members of our club share their unique experiences with everyone. Thank you again for being here, and we hope you enjoy our first virtual Disability Awareness Day video.
Hello, JJC students and community. I am your proud college president, Dr. Judy Mitchell. It's a great honor to participate in this special opportunity with you. It is so important to recognize and reflect on the progress we have made as a society to support access and opportunity for all. It's amazing to think that 2020 marks the 30th anniversary of the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act into law. This has transformed our country and empowered new generations of those with disabilities to flourish in so many ways. I can say I have witnessed these changes here at JJC personally in over 20 years at the college. I have also witnessed the spirit of equal access thrive through the growth of the accommodations we provide and the growth of resources to support awareness activities and new technology. If I had to choose one reason why I've invested many years of my education and career at JJC, it would be this: the college exists to support you and your success. There is nothing more important to me than knowing that you have maximized the opportunities available to you and that the college has provided a pathway to education and perhaps a mentor, a new career opportunity, and new friends. Your success is personal to me. I want to share in this moment with you to reflect on where we've been and where we need to go. Though this year has been full of unexpected challenges, know that we will come through this together. So please continue to lean into your JJC community and know that my door is always open, even virtually. I look forward to seeing you all soon.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and welcome to the very first virtual Disability Awareness Day panel. Before we get started, I'm going to let our panel members introduce ourselves. Erica, would you like to say something about yourself?
Hi, my name is Erica Nurchak. This is my second year at Joliet Junior College, and I'm the Vice President of the JJC Disability Awareness Club.
Otis, do you want to say a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Otis Seabury Jr. I am a general member for at the Disability Awareness Club, and this is my third and last semester here at JJC, and my major is Associate in Theater Arts.
Thank you, Otis. Emma?
Sorry, I wasn't sure if it was going to unmute for me or not. Hi, my name's Emma Brown. This is my second year at JJC, and I'm a special education major.
Thank you. Juan?
Hi, my name is Juan. I'm 22 years old. I attended JJC for almost 4 years. My major is Associates in Arts, but after my Associates in Arts, I'm thinking of transferring for a degree in psychology.
Thank you. Emily?
Hi everyone, my name is Emily and this is my first year at JGC and I'm planning on getting my Associates of Arts and for psychology, and I'm a general member here at the Disability Awareness Club.
Thank you. And last but not least, Esley.
Hi, my name is Esley and this is my 4th semester at JGC and I am majoring in child development and I am the president of Disability Awareness Club.
Thank you, guys. So we're going to start with our first question, and that is, what is your disability and how old were you when you were diagnosed?
I had a stroke when I was born, so I don't know what it's like to have full use of my arms and legs. When I was 16, I was diagnosed with Hahnemann hemianopia, which is a visual field deficit on the left side of each eye.
Thank you for sharing.
And as for me, I would say that my disability would be dyslexia, which is also called a learning disability, and that causes a hard time learning math, English, and writing. And I still don't remember, but I believe that I was diagnosed at the age of 6 or 7 when I first joined first grade, like that.
Thank you. What about you, Emma?
I was diagnosed at 11 with generalized anxiety disorder and major depression.
Thank you. Juan?
I was diagnosed with CPU when I was born. There's many types of CP. I have the 3rd type of CP, which is cerebral palsy. I had it all my life, and yeah.
Thank you. Emily?
I was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder at 2 years old.
Thank you. And Esley?
I have retinitis pigmentosa, which is an eye condition, and I was diagnosed when I was 6 years old.
Thank you. Mason, do you want to add anything?
No, I think I'm good. Hi everyone, my name is Mason. I will be co-hosting the student panel.
Okay, now to move on to our second question. So it takes a lot of us time to become comfortable with our disability. Like personally for me, I'm 20 years old and I've been diagnosed with neurofibromatosis since I was 4. Not 4, I was in 4th grade. But I didn't become comfortable disclosing my disability or really sharing it till I turned 16. So if you guys are comfortable with your disability, how old were you when you finally were comfortable with it?
It took me a very long time to be comfortable with my disability and embrace that I was always going to be a stroke survivor. And I would say it was when I was in college when I truly became comfortable. And I remember asking my doctor if I would ever drive.
Thank you, Erica.
And for me, I would say throughout my entire life, I never knew that I had a learning disability until I was 21 or 22 years of age. And when I look back on my childhood at the time, I finally understood why I was put into special ed classes back in Richland grade school. Back then, I couldn't accept it, but sometime early to mid last year, I accepted it. I accepted my disability. I didn't care what people may think. And lastly, I continue to move forward on with my life.
It's a very good way to look at it, Otis. What about you, Emma?
I'm not really sure I mean, I've come to accept it as, something that I have and something that affects my life. I'm not really sure if I accept it as part of my identity or if I really want that to be associated with what people. I'm sorry, can I start over? Yeah, okay. Can you read the question one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, when did you become comfortable with your disability, if you did become comfortable with it?
So I became more comfortable with it into my 20s. I think that part of that was that it's become more socially or more acceptable in our culture in the last 10 years or so.
Very nice. Juan?
When I became comfortable with my disability, it took me a while because as I was born, when I grew up to be in middle school, I'm like, why can't I do the stuff that other kids do? And it took me a while because I wanted to be just like everyone else, but it took me some time to accept who I am and love myself now, today.
Very nice. What about you, Emily?
I'm still like having a hard time having when it comes to my disability and part of my identity, especially because it's something that I really haven't been comfortable telling people. And in the elementary school, especially when I was starting to get older and things like that, when my mom first told me about my disability, I was upset and shameful that why do I have a disability and things like that. But also I just feel like even doing this channel is helping me become more comfortable with that identity. And I think that especially me as a reserved person, definitely this is out of my comfort zone, but I really wanted to make more awareness towards this and not be afraid to show other people that I have a disability and I shouldn't care about what other people think.
I'm really glad this panel can help you. This club is a great way to become more comfortable with your disability and just learning to accept yourself. And Nestle?
For me, when I was younger, like I said, I was diagnosed when I was 6 or 7, and I was very confused of how I was able to see. I remember I was scared and my parents were scared, so I was very confused to why I was losing vision, but I did still have enough vision to ride a bike and color and things like that, but things were getting a little more difficult because I was just losing a little more of the center of my vision. And then it wasn't until high school that I started to get more comfortable with having a visual impairment because I realized that I was learning how to use a white cane and then different audio devices with computers and phones and things like that with screen readers.
It's very nice. And before we move on, I'm going to ask my co-host Mason if he wants to add anything.
No, very good. It's really nice to hear everybody's different experiences and how it affects you, because everyone has different stories. Personally, for me, I was 15 when I had a brain AVM rupture, or anterior venous malformation rupture, that caused a stroke. So you kind of have a different viewpoint than someone who may have been born with a disability.
And it's great to hear that you guys are all not letting your disabilities define you, because they shouldn't. We didn't choose to be like this. It's just something that makes us special. So when you disclose your disability, it could be to friends you've known forever, new friends, or your teachers. People really don't know how to react. Like for mine, I have an invisible disability. And when I kind of took the step to disclose it to my speech class my sophomore year of high school, my speech teacher had the class stand up, applaud me, and tell me how much of a trooper and just an inspiration I was, because I was going through life living with this awful disability. So I want to know if you guys have been treated differently once you've disclosed your disability.
I feel like I was treated differently once I disclosed my disability, but people do not do it on purpose. I think that the way you reveal your disability has an impact on the way people treat you and whether you let your disability define you.
Very good.
All right, so yeah, to be completely honest, I've never disclosed my disability to anybody, especially an employer or work. And the reason for that is because I never yeah, like I said earlier, I never knew that I had dyslexia or whatever you want to call it, a learning disability. So I never disclosed it with anybody.
And it is very hard to disclose, especially with employers, because even though it is illegal to discriminate against someone because they have a disability, people still do it because they don't think we're capable enough as neurotypical people. Emma?
Yeah, I have in the past disclosed to employers, and there have been times when I've been treated differently. I've been, after disclosure, I've been, sometimes I was taken off projects, or I would find out later about certain things going on at work that that was withheld from me because they didn't think that I could handle it emotionally. And so it's made me much more careful about who I disclose to, especially when money's on the line.
Definitely.
When I become comfortable with my disability, well, my disability is obvious, so I can't really hide it, even if I wanted to. And have I been treated differently? In some cases, yes. But once people get to know me, just like any normal person.
Thank you. Emily?
I feel like I've never really felt differently about this because I haven't really told too many people about my disability when it comes to disclosing. And I just feel like maybe if I would, I feel like, I'd be treated differently, especially if I do get a job or something. I'm still kind of hesitant about, okay, should I really tell them if I get an interview or something or things like that. And it's just I do want to be able to be successful, have a job, but then it might be hard because then the employer or whoever it is may see I have different things that may affect the way I work, and if I don't disclose it, maybe they won't understand why I act a certain way, or maybe when it comes to communication, that's kind of hard for me. So I think that hopefully I just have to be careful about who I would disclose it to.
And I agree with you, Emily. It's a double-edged sword. You disclose it, and then they're going to be very treat you differently because they want to make sure their workplace is comfortable for you, or it's going to be, oh, you have a disability, it's going to be a little bit harder to employ you. Sorry, you're not hired. They're not going to say it's because you have a disability. They'll find some other reason for it. So I do agree with disclosing to certain people can be kind of a bad idea. And Nestle?
With my eye condition, it deteriorates, so it changes throughout time, and it also changes depending on lighting. So when I was younger, I was able to see a lot more. Like I said, I was able to ride a bike and read large print and things like that. So for a while, I was actually able to seem like I had a lot of vision, but then there was times like, for example, if the lights turned off or there was too much light or contrast with like colors, like if there's like two dark colors against each other and things like that, it was hard for me to see. So there was times where I had to explain that to people and they didn't understand or they were very confused, so they would definitely treat me different. And then when it came to like telling teachers and things like that, especially getting into high school, they were starting to well, actually in middle school, 7th grade, I was put into special education classes because of my visual impairment. And then it wasn't until after 8th grade, before I went to high school, that I was asked to get out of them because I realized that that was the only reason I was put into special education classes and I didn't need them. But yeah, when it came to like going to high school and being in the regular classes, the teachers would still try to accommodate, but like not accommodate, but like make things easier, like give me less work and tell me not to do certain assignments when they thought that I couldn't do it. So I definitely say I was treated differently that way. And then also when it came to like playing with other children in my classes and things like that outside when I was younger, I was sometimes like told like that I can't play and that they don't understand why I can't see. Like, why can't I just get my eyes fixed? Why can't I get surgery or wear glasses and things like that?
Yeah, it's awful to hear that we've all experienced discrimination in some form or another, but hopefully the goal of this panel and the club in general is to spread awareness of disabilities, that it's not something bad, they're not contagious, we're just here. Mason, you want to add anything?
Yeah, and there's a lot of good points, especially with do you choose to disclose your disability? Without, people will discriminate against you whether they know it or not. The people watching this might look at people different because of it. And it's like, well, they need to understand, so you have to disclose it. But do you also want to be treated different for disclosing it? And also for the having a disability in the workforce, legally, employers are not allowed to discriminate against you, say for firing someone because of their disability. That's because of the American with Disabilities Act that was signed by George W. Bush, which really is nice because now the country advocates for us, and hopefully the people watching will see that.
Very good points, Mason. And before we take our break, we're going to ask one more question. So your different disabilities, they can be neurological, so you may have trouble in certain classes, or it could be a physical disability that hinders your ability to get to class. So my disability, NF, it's physical and neurological. I have trouble in math and science. I always was really bad at them. And going through classes, especially once I hit high school, I was in what they would refer to as remedial math. So it just made me feel a little bit stupid because why am I not getting anything when everybody else is 2 lessons ahead? I'm still learning the basics. So I really want to know if your disability has affected your education, whether it was in the past or currently while you're enrolled at JJC.
I want to start off by saying my professors are very respectful of my decision to not always use my extended testing time because I want to challenge myself on my understanding of the material and not rely on the extended time. But after spending long time on tests and or doing homework, my left hand clenches up very tight, and I also type mostly one-handed.
This is the question for how the educational experience impacted your life, right?
Correct.
Oh, okay. All right. So with the disability that I have, it impacted my educational experience because my reading and writing skills have been increasing ever since I came to JJC, and it was a good experience for me, to be able to learn more, be able to pay close attention to certain schoolwork, and not to mention also club activity work, because not only was it like my first time to join the club on college campus, but it was like my first time learning new basics and how do I say it? Yeah, not only learning the new basics, but also engaging engaging the leadership skills and meeting new people and social networking with different people.
Very nice.
Also for me, I think all of us as college students are stressed at times with all kinds of different homework and deadlines and tests and exams and studying. But for me, with my anxiety disorder, it's kind of that, but times 10 a lot of the time. And so that can make it really hard to kind of be able to focus and try to complete things like tests. And also with my depression, that affects motivation a lot for people. It can mean like it's hard to find a reason to maybe get out of bed in the morning or, to like sort of be motivated to actually start working on schoolwork, no matter how much I know that I want to do that. Like I really want to complete my degree. I really want to be able to become a teacher. But that's kind of some of the ways that it impacts me.
Impacts me about my learning capabilities. I can't write as well, so I need somebody to scribe for me. So that's why I always have a friend at JJC sitting right next to me, scribing for me because I can't write. But I could also advocate for myself, tell her what to put down or who's ever with me. And me, for computer-wise, typing. So I need somebody to type for me because I type really slow. And also, math is kind of hard for me, but I got hang of it over the years. But it's still a struggle. But I think why it's a struggle is because I was right. I'm like Sarah. They put me in a basic math too, and so counting money and all that stuff. So that screwed me over. But as I got into JGC, I just they put me in normal classes, and I am learning to do basic algebra, something I never did before, and I'm doing so good so far.
It's nice to hear. And Ashley. Oh, Emily.
It's my turn.
Sorry.
Well, my experience, like as a person with a disability at JJC, I think so far it's been good. I've been getting my extended time on my test, which that's what I really need because I need to kind of take my time. But I feel like if I wasn't to do that, I feel like I would not do as well, like on my test. But definitely, like growing up, like in school was kind of hard, especially in the areas of math and English. Had always been a struggle for me, especially like reading and writing. I've always never liked it, and like even like back in the 6th grade, I was in a regular math class and I had a really bad grade, and then they had to switch me to all small classes, like fundamental classes, and I was in fundamental classes from 6th grade just for math. I was in math fundamental classes all throughout high school, and I feel like my math level is so behind. It's not even like at the college level yet, and it's a struggle for me. I know like for the rest of my classes, I was able to be like in the regular classes, but definitely like with math it's just a struggle because it's like it takes me longer to learn things. Like I have a hard time like learning concepts and like just like kind of like comprehending information than like others may have. So I think it's been like that for the majority of my educational experience.
Just so you know, you're not alone.
Thank you, Juan.
Thank you.
And now it's Esley's turn.
When I was younger, like I said, I was taught like Braille and screen readers, how to use them on the computer and things like that. So I'm really grateful that I learned those things because they definitely have helped me now in college. And then being in college and having like work just like everyone else, it when it comes to tests and certain assignments, it sometimes takes me longer because I have to listen to it and to understand things. Sometimes I have to listen to it a few times. But especially with right now being online, I do like that fact because I don't have to feel like I'm rushing. But then also at JJC, using the Disability Services Office has definitely helped out. They're very supportive in there, and they help me understand that like I can get my accommodations still. Because when I was young, after high school, I went to a school for the visually impaired in Illinois, and it was all visually impaired students that were there. So the different like support that they had there was all based on someone who was visually impaired or blind. So going from there straight to JJC was a little bit different for me because I had to adjust to like the real world, like how everything is and everything's based on visual, using your vision and things like that. So I had to ask for I had to learn how to ask for what I needed, but I quickly caught on to that, and then now I can say that I'm doing pretty well in my classes using the devices that I use, and then teachers and other students can also be very helpful and very, like I said, I'm very grateful for those type of things, the different technology and Braille and things like that, because I feel like if I didn't learn any of that, I definitely would not be where I am now.
Thank you. And if Mason doesn't want to add anything, we're going to take a small break before I move on.
And we have to give a big shout out to Disability Services for all of their help that they do in that office and giving all of the students an equal opportunity in our education in college.
Yes, they have been very great at teaching us how to advocate for ourselves, what to do for having problems with professor, and helping us find professors that will be the best for our disability. So we are going to take a small break and then we'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Adam Woke and I'm the director of the Disability Services Office at Joliet Junior College. And I'm honored to have the opportunity today to speak to all of you about disability awareness. We don't do enough to spend time addressing the needs of this very important part of our community. Students with disabilities are the most resilient group of students I've ever had the pleasure of working with. They have overcome, they have worked hard to find ways to be successful, and we as a society have not done enough to create more points of access for them. We need to make sure that when we say diversity, we're including disabilities. It needs to be there with every other group in that conversation. We need more representation for people with disabilities. There is so much that we can learn from them. There's so much that I personally have learned from them. I know that I'm a better man because of my work with this really fantastic cohort. Here at JJC, our office provides support for students with disabilities through accommodations and coaching. We do everything that we can to help students overcome unique learning obstacles and find creative solutions to be successful in the classroom. Please come visit us at JJC, whether you're a student with a disability or not. It's important that we share our work with everybody. Thank you.
Hello, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, dogs, cats, and all of that. This is your neighborhood life coach, Jovan Benson. A little about myself. Okay, all right, okay. I am 34 years old, an African American, and I am blind legally, suffering from glaucoma. And I have one eye because I had it taken out in surgery. I've been visually impaired since birth, and I am proud of it. Let's get you there, if you ain't already there. But before I jump into that, I would like to first of all thank the Disability Awareness Club for giving me a chance to do what I do. You know, I love this. This is amazing for me. This is like coffee. So I'm excited. And shout out to Esley, the president. Thank you. Actually, thank you for inviting me. You know, doing a good job. And all that good stuff. So then, without further ado, let's dive into this whole thing. Who likes stories? Oh, wait, before I go back, I gotta thank the people that are watching this. That means you. I thank you for letting me in your house through your screen, your iPads or your iPhones or your Androids, and letting me into your house. By the way, can I get some of that coffee right there? Anyway, whatever. You ain't gotta, whatever. Be stingy. But let's get into the story. This is an old folk tale. There was this Zen master a long time ago who got into this habit of carrying this old tattered looking bucket to and fro from his house to the river, scooping up water and carrying it right back to his house. Every morning he would do this, humming happily. You know, the bucket was a little bit rusty and tattered and all, so, you know, it would occasionally leak out, but if you held it the right way, you know, you can at least get some water back. But, you know, I digress. One of these occasions, the Zen master had a reason to sit the bucket down by the river, and he ran off to grab something. Well, meanwhile, there was a fish who popped up out of water, snickering and laughing and pointing at the old tattered bucket. The tattered bucket replied, "What are you snickering about?" Well, the fish died laughing and saying, "Well, you don't know? I mean, look at you. You're so proud. And you're tattered and you're old and you're worthless, and nobody's going to want to use you. He's going to throw you away. He's going to throw you away and forget about you and get a brand new bucket." Well, hearing this news, the old tattered bucket was mystified. I mean, after all, he did notice that the water was starting to seep through the cracks more and more, and he wasn't retaining as much water as he used to. But that's okay. He's going to try to retain water because he doesn't want to be worthless. So he's going to try to cover up those patches. Well, he tried to do that, and the first time he did, the water leaked out right in front of the Zen master, and he said, "I'm so sorry, Zen master. I'll do better next time. Please don't send me away. Don't make me worthless." And the Zen master would look at him and say, "My, look at the pretty flowers. Look at the pretty flowers. Oh my God, how beautiful those flowers are. Wow. Makes life worth it." This went on for about a week. And even Zen masters lose their patience. I mean, come on. Every morning with this, taking the old tattered bucket to the river, scooping it up, and the bucket's promising that he's going to hold in this water, but he doesn't. And he cries and he screams and he's in despair. Please don't give me away. I'm a failure. I suck. I don't mean anything, but don't make me feel worthless. And the Zen master would reply, look at the pretty flowers. Look at the flowers. Well, like I said, the Zen master even lost patience. What are you talking about? He said to the bucket. You're not understanding anything that I'm telling you, he said to the bucket. The bucket stopped and looked at him and said, I don't understand. The Zen master said, the reason why I keep trying to draw your attention to the flowers is because you are the one that make the flowers grow because of the water that seeps from your cracks. So if we are honest with ourselves, the question becomes this: how many of us can truly admit that there was times in our lives in which we felt like that tattered, old, dusty, dirty, disgusting bucket? How many times have you looked at your cracks and tried to patch them up? For the sake of this conversation, we're going to give these cracks a name. You see, for me, my cracks were called blindness. For you, your cracks may be called something else. It could be called cerebral palsy, or it could be called being deaf. Some of us have teeny tiny cracks that is so small that we do not notice them until we notice the water leaking out of it. And then when we notice the water leaking out, by the time we realize that they're cracks, the person's patched them back up. But yet they're suffering silently, hoping, please don't see my cracks. Please don't see my cracks. That was me. I used to hide my cracks all the time. I used to love folding canes because you get to fold them up and put them in your backpack. Braille books, hide them in your backpack. Pretend like you can cross the street without a cane and almost get flattened by a car. Try to be what they call normal. Be normal. Because if you be normal, then maybe somebody will like you and you will not die a dirty, disgusting, rusty, tattered old bucket. But the more I tried to patch up the cracks, the more people noticed that actually I had cracks in the bucket. Now, how many of you have done that? How many of you are doing that right now? How many of you are hearing this conversation and can see yourself? And meanwhile, right now as I'm talking to you, how many of you are patching up your cracks? Stop that. Because it is your cracks that the water leaks out. The water could be inspiration. It leaks out onto people, they are the flowers, and it makes them grow. Every mistake that you make, every accomplishment, everything that you do, living on this planet as a disabled person is a miracle in itself. Actually, living on this planet is a miracle in itself. But living here without with some disadvantages that's heroic. You make flowers grow. And the only reason that you don't think so is because your mindset. Everything that you think about, it manifests itself. Take some time to look around you or listen around you. Be around, just be aware of your surroundings, and you will find that everything that you are in contact with, the bed that you're sitting on, the couch that you're sitting on, the chair, the food that you eat, the stove that you cook it on, or the refrigerator, the door that you open to go outside, all of that started with thought. Thoughts are very powerful. If you want to change someone's behavior, you change their belief, including your own. Hitler knew it. How do you think he was able to convince Nazis to kill 6 million Jews? Martin Luther King knew it. How do you think he convinced people to march and have a dream? The point I'm trying to make is that if you think that your disability is a problem, guess what? It's going to be a problem. But if you take it and own it as part of you, it does not have to define you. But if you take it as a part of you, then it will bless you. And you'll be able to change it in many ways. This is my cell phone. Let's say, for example, hands up. Let's say, for example, that I wanted to make a phone call. I so badly wanted to make a phone call. I so badly want to do it. I want to check my messages, but I can't check my messages because I don't have my phone in my hand. But if I grab this phone, and if I say this phone is my phone, and if I know the code, and if I can get to the right number that's programmed in this phone, then I can make the right call, and I can move forward and progress in life. Some of us need to treat our disability like we would treat our phones. Hold them close and make it a part of us. We will not be defined by it, but we damn sure are not going to leave it at home. It is just that important. You're not worthless. There's nothing wrong with you. You are beautiful. There's so much to you. There's so much more to you than you've ever realized. Don't let your candle burn out simply because you're afraid that it might blind people's eyes, okay? This world is yours, whether you are tapping in it, tapping your way through it, feeling your way through it, rolling your way through it. Roll your way through this life as if you are a king, because that's what you are. I see a king in you. I see a queen in you. I see life in you. And I love you. And there's nothing that you can do about it. Peace.
When I was 7 years old, I flew in a plane for the first time, and I created a game for myself. Count the number of backyard pools you see. You miss one, you lose. When I was 21 years old, I flew to Los Angeles, which was a first for me on 2 accounts. My first time in LA, and my first time losing the swimming pool game. For the least captive audience ever, you try to tell me what to do in case of a water landing. But what you don't understand is that I put the frequent in flyer, collecting rewards, which really only amount to flying more. Gazing out of my rounded rectangle, I never missed a takeoff. The slow zoom as things bigger than you fade smaller and smaller until they become so distant that I can't even squish them in between my fingers anymore. Imagine how a bird must feel the first time it swoops down to land on the ground, and think, that house is way bigger than it looks. I like it better up there, where you're the first to know the weather. Suspended between time zones and atmospheres, I get acquainted with the clouds, cheating death for $329 plus tax. From up there, I see where roads begin and end. And I want to chisel cars on, You're almost there. It's just around the corner, but you just can't see it yet. From up there, I see small clusters of light, reminding me of brainwave activity scans. And I think a city is perhaps the synapse of God's brain, lighting up where connections are being made with the Almighty. Which makes sense why so much of the earth below is so pitch black. With the seatbelt sign turned on and the man in the aisle seat, white-knuckled on the arm of his armrest, I remind him that no plane has ever crashed from turbulence. But if we had the choice, don't you think that most passengers would give up before it passes? What if on the ground we had no choice but to strap in and just wait it out? How many still fathered children would there be? How many unsigned divorce papers? How many unread suicide notes? How many of us would stick around if we knew that what was turbulent is ultimately harmless? And that, though annoying, the change fee is necessary. Because change never comes free, and I'll gladly pay the price if it gets us where we're going faster. But what we fail to realize is that if our name's on the suitcase, it's gonna come around again and again until we grab it. The turnstile of life keeps kicking back what you refuse to pick up. In other words, we all have to claim our baggage before we move on. From up there, I can see all that. But from down here, I'm lucky if I even take the time to look up and wish that I could fly.
Hi, my name is Patrick Hall. I am the club advisor of the Disability Awareness Club. I work here in the college, not necessarily in disability services. I work out of workforce development. So my job isn't necessarily tied to disability services and the disability community, but I have grown a passion for it. My wife works with adults with disabilities, so that's how I first was introduced to the community, helping out at different events, getting to know some of the adults she works with and serves, and really building relationships with these people and having fun, and seeing the joy on their faces when they get to do various activities, events, and so forth. So that's really where the interest started. From then on, I started at JJC and was offered the opportunity to become the club advisor of Disability Awareness Club, as I said. The opportunity at first was a little scary. I didn't have a ton of experience, but I took it on full stride. I had a lot of help, and I couldn't be happier with my choice. Over the last 3 years, I've got to know the students in the club, who are all very passionate, very driven, and very focused on advocating for the disability community, both in JJC and the college in general, and then in the community in whole. We put together events like Disability Awareness Day. We have different fundraisers. We meet on a regular basis. And it's really become something I look forward to. And I've really loved building the relationships with the members of the club and seeing all of the good things that we're capable of as a group, and seeing these students really have a sense of philanthropy and want to make a difference. So it's been really awesome. I'm so happy I could be a part of it. And this video serves as a small tidbit of what Disability Awareness Day usually is, but it's a chance for people to talk about and share their thoughts in the disabled community and how we can help and spread awareness on a daily basis. I'm very happy to be a part of it, and I'm excited to see where things go from here.
And we're back with the JJC Student Panel 2020.
Okay.
Here we have Erica, Otis, Juan, Emily, Emma, and Esley, and your host, Sarah, and myself.
So for our next question, we kind of know this because we talk about this a lot during our meetings, but what is an invisible disability? An invisible disability is one that you can't look at somebody and see. So for us, a lot of the members of our club do have invisible disabilities. And disabilities can be ones you don't even think about being invisible, like epilepsy and MS. But there are visible disabilities, and it's kind of self-explanatory, like wheelchair use and being wheelchair bound. What I want to ask you guys are, what are the types of discrimination those with visible disabilities experience compared to those with invisible disabilities?
So people with invisible disabilities must make the decision whether to disclose or not, because some people believe that they need to see it to believe that you have an invisible disability, and it takes more compassion to recognize the fact that people would face invisible challenges.
Great way of explaining that.
Now, for me, I would say the differences between invisible and visible. I'm gonna start with the visible disabilities. So visible disabilities, like you said, it is kind of sort of self-explanatory. It's noticed to other people by just looking at them in a different way, and not even the same way as people look at other people who are normal, who don't even have disabilities, and that comes with facial features or someone who is not able to move physically. And how people with invisible disabilities can affect people on the way that they think, the way that they interact, and the way that they hear around other individuals. When it comes to invisible disabilities, most individuals would, dismiss people with invisible disabilities by seeing them as odd, or if something is off about them. And the way some people look at people with visible disabilities, they think to themselves, oh, they might need help, or they might need assistance 100% of the time, like 24/7. But in all actuality, they really don't need the help, as long as they know what they're doing, as long as they know what they're doing with themselves, because just like other people who have invisible disabilities, or people who don't have disabilities, they know exactly what they're doing. They know how to take care excuse me, they know how to take full care of themselves. And if they need help, that they'll ask. But then it can't be, people that will ask like right away, because you never know if they're already, good, if they're already, set. So it's basically people with visible disabilities. It should be continued for them to be treated as such, to treat it equally. And that's what I gotta say about that.
Thank you.
So with an invisible disability, I think like Otis said, I am fortunate to have the choice of whether I want to disclose that or not. Although it does kind of is a double-edged sword, where sometimes I'll tell people and they won't believe me, and they'll think that I'm making it up for attention just because they can't physically see my depression on me somewhere. I'm not blue because I'm depressed, or and I don't know how to end this, so go ahead and cut this little chunk out after I say that.
And Juan?
There is a difference, because, as I said before in the recording, I can't hide my disability, and other people can. As much as I want to, I can't hide it, but I have to. There is a difference, but people are just normal people. People might need a little bit extra help, but they're just all one of the same. So that's what I have to say about that.
Thank you. And Emily. Let's mix up all the time. Emily.
I definitely feel like there is like a difference between like invisible and invisible disabilities like that. Like with visible disabilities, like it is more noticeable when it comes to like, especially like in our society as we view people with invisible like needing more help and things like that. But like with invisible disabilities, like it can be like maybe not everyone knows about it, and it's something like when it comes to like disclosing, like we have the option to like not give away or like give away that information to other people. But it could be a challenge for both sides, especially like having a disability. It can be very difficult no matter what it is. It can affect the way we do things in our everyday lives, whether it affects us physically or mentally or neurologically. I just think that we all like have our different experiences, whether it's invisible or visible disability.
Very nice. And Esley.
There's definitely a difference between invisible disability and visible disability. In terms of like someone with a visual impairment or blindness, there's all different types of levels of sight that someone can have. So one person may use a cane and another person may not. They may just use glasses or a telescope or something like that. So depending on like the type of sight they have, they have to use different things, or they may not have to use certain things at certain times. So it can confuse people. I know like for me, as I was growing up, I was learning how to use a cane. I didn't always use the cane, so most of the time I look like I can see just like everyone else, but it wasn't until something came up that I couldn't see, like for example the lights turning off, or like I mentioned before, the different color contrasts of different things. Like for example, like the grass is green and then something is someone is wearing a green shirt or something, I wouldn't see them. Things like that. And then when I think about like some of my friends or just people in general with different types of vision, um, like I said, they use different things. Like some of them may use a cane, some of them may use seeing eye dog, or may not use anything. And that, I know like just like myself, that can be confusing for some people, and they see them using those things and then they know that they're visually impaired or blind. But once you don't, and especially if you have like very good eye contact, or you're using your eyes as much as you can, people don't think that you're blind, and they sometimes may think that you're faking it, or like very confused on how much you see, because a lot of people think like when you're blind or visually impaired that you're completely blind, and that's not the case. So that ties into the invisible and visible, because when you're blind and you use a cane or a guide dog, then someone can tell that you're blind or visually impaired. But when you're not, you can't always tell. You may see something different in their eyes or something like that, but other than that, people can't tell. So I would say that's the difference.
Yeah, and for me, I feel like it is easier to discriminate against somebody who has an invisible disability because people want proof. If I can't see it, it doesn't exist. On the same hand, people with physical disabilities are discriminated against because if they're in a wheelchair, they might be treated as they're helpless. But you would never discriminate or tell somebody that you're faking it being in a wheelchair, faking being blind or deaf just because you can't look at them and see. Do you want to add anything to that, Michaela?
And there are people out there that fake disabilities for real. I see it in 2020, and I'm like, why are you doing this? You know you're gonna get caught one day or another. I mean, it's just stupid because when people do that, when actual people do that, it makes it harder for people to believe us who are actually disabled.
And that kind of people who fake disabilities for attention, it does affect people who really have disabilities because it makes people question if it is just for attention. Do you want anything, Mason, before we move on?
Yeah, there's a lot of points that you guys hit that are very true. And people may say, oh, you're faking it for attention. Why would I fake something that I would rather not have at all? It's not easy to have a disability, but you saying, well, you're faking it to get attention, well, why would I fake it? It's not something that I enjoy or chose to have. It is what it is. I don't see why I would be lying. And it does have the boy who cried wolf concept of these people say that they have something that they don't, but how do you know it's true with an invisible disability?
And that kind of leads us into our next question about, we know life isn't always going to be sunshine and rainbows. Disability is suck to have. So how has your disability negatively affected your life?
My field of vision does not meet the legal requirements to drive in the state of Illinois and many other states because of the risks associated with it. So I must rely on family, friends, public transportation, or my bike to get to places. This is the hardest part of my disability because at first glance you would not be able to tell that I have a visual impairment, and it's not something I disclose often.
Thank you.
So I would say, for myself, let me see. Yeah, how did my disability affect my life negatively? I would say that it affected me negatively when I used to doubt myself on my schoolwork, that I was going to be having trouble figuring it out, having trouble with my the stuttering problems that I had with by talking to some people, and sometimes having a short memory loss, because like whenever I get crowded, it doesn't matter if it's schoolwork or activities. It's just that sometimes when I get crowded, for some reason it would be hard for me to catch up, and then it would be hard for me to remember exactly what do I need to do, or something that I want to do. So that right there is something that has negatively, I would say those are one of the things that negatively impacted my life.
Thank you, Otis.
So for me, one of the negatives is so whenever I have panic attacks in public, they're easier to kind of manage at home, but when you're in public and it happens, there's people that stare at you. Like I had most recently, I was in an airport and I basically had to like crumble to the floor and like hyperventilate for a while, and everyone was staring at me. And that was awful. Yeah, but I guess that's one of the negatives.
One of the few negatives that for me, one, I can't drive because my hands, they are too stiff, and I have to rely on transportation, mostly on my parents, to take me A to B, and also they're getting better with making places accessible, but when there's places that have stairs and stuff like that, it's harder for me because my father needs to pick me up and take me to wherever we are with stairs, and also I have to bring my own ramp, my portable ramp, if I were to go to a friend's house or something like that. So yeah, it's difficult, but it is what it is, you know.
Thank you.
For me, I feel like definitely I've had a lot of negative, like how my disability has like affected my life negatively, especially like growing up. Like having like just like social skills have always been a really like struggle for me. It was hard to make friends growing up, but I'm grateful that I do have friends, even though like it's only like a close group of friends, but like that does mean like a lot to me. But even then, like also when it comes to eye contact, it's always been a struggle, especially when it comes to like directly like having to like in conversation, it can be hard because then sometimes my eyes kind of shift to the other side. And also, like even when I was younger, it was my my autism was worse actually. At 18 months, I became nonverbal and I couldn't speak, and that's when my parents like got concerned and they researched more about the disability and how got tested, and then around 2 years when I got diagnosed. So definitely I'm grateful to the point where I can speak today, but it was harder back when I was a child. Definitely, like I had to go to occupational therapy and I had to go to speech therapy throughout most of my life. So I think just like with that support helped me, but also I just feel like I do get anxious sometimes, like when it comes to like if things like just don't go my way. And also like I tend to have like interests that like kind of last for a while, or like I would say more like obsessions, and it's just hard because sometimes I feel like I do repeat myself or I'm kind of talking about the same thing for a long period of time, and then I feel like sometimes my family might like kind of get annoyed with me because like oh like why are you like always talking about the same stuff, and it's just uncontrollable sometimes because it's just kind of like I want to stop, but then it's like really hard not to. But I just think that like even during this pandemic, I feel like my social skills has kind of gotten worse in a way. I just think that just not going to school in person has also affected me as well. And I just feel like even when I go back to campus, sometimes I do kind of worry, like I'm kind of like anxious or like worried about talking to people and like having those social interactions because I'm not gonna be used to it. But hopefully, like as the semester goes, like joining these club meetings and hopefully I'll feel less anxious for the spring or whenever we go back. I have no idea when, but hopefully we can all see each other again in person soon.
Yeah, definitely be nice to see everybody in person again. Keeping hopeful for spring on campus, but we just got to work with what we got. And finally, Esley.
For me, the way that my disability has affected me negatively is the constant feeling like I have to interfere, having to ask like for rides or go another way of getting a ride, like
Yep.
Pace or Uber, things like that. And also like when it comes to like just little things, I mean I'm pretty independent, but there's times where I do have to ask for certain things that I may not see, like maybe colors or where something is or things like that, and then I have to like depend on someone. The thing that I will say I'm grateful for though, because sometimes my like I have a lot of siblings and things like that, but they have their own life as well. There's like apps now that help. There's one called Be My Eyes, and it has a live. It's like a live video chat thing, and it's like these volunteers that will help like help you see. Like I can point it to something and say like what color is this or where what kind of like cereal or something this is, and it tells me. So that's the thing I would say I'm grateful for having, but there are times where I do forget that, and I have to like wait on things, or like ask um, to clarify things I may not be able to see. And then also socially, sometimes it can affect me as outgoing and much I like to talk and things like that. Sometimes when it comes to like visual things, like maybe like just little things, like someone may be showing like a group of video or something, and I don't know what's going on, and I don't know why they're laughing and things like that. And that could be kind of like challenging for me to try to like speak up and be like, what is going on. And then also like talking to people, like sometimes when there's so much going around me that I'm listening to, it can be distracting because I'm just focused on what I'm hearing and I may not always be focused on them. And it doesn't happen as much, but more when I was younger. Sometimes people would think that I'm not like paying attention and things like that. And then when it comes to just even like little things, like parties or sports, playing outside, things like that, I have to play differently, or like at parties it can be hard because like so many people are packed in one area, and to get around, like it's challenging to like get around in a crowd, and then I have to ask where certain people are, and um like figure out where the food is and things like that. So that's how I would say it has affected me in different ways negatively.
Thank you for sharing. And for me, my disability has made me need to decide things that I didn't think at the age of 20 I'd be deciding, like, do I want to continue down the graphic design path because my NF does make the joints in my hand incredibly stiff, and the more I sit at my computer and my drawing tablet, the worse I'm tearing up the joints in my hand. My knees, I need to change the way I exercise, or I'm going to need a double knee replacement by the time I'm 25. I had my neurologist ask me, do I want kids because NF is genetic, so I have a 50% chance of passing it down to my children, and is it worth risking them getting a mild case like me or getting the more severe part of it? So that's really mainly how it's negatively affected my life. What about you, Mason? You want to add anything?
I'm sorry, where are we at?
Do you want to add anything about your disability negatively affecting your life?
No, but I do think it is interesting seeing the differences with how it affects people from their physical disability or mental disability. There's a lot of big differences.
Exactly. And we're going to try to end on a little bit of more positive notes, and some of these questions have been a little bit of a downer. How has your disability positively affected your life?
My parents signed me up for cross country when I was in 5th grade, and I've been running ever since. This is my 10th year running and my 9th season of cross country. I'm a member of JJC's women's cross country team, and although my disability affects the efficiency of my stride, running is the one time I feel free from my disability and not treated differently.
It's great to hear.
So for me, I would say that how did my disability influence my life positively? So I would say it influenced my life very how do I say it influenced me in a very wonderful way, because it influenced me in a very wonderful way because it's when I started to not only believe in myself that I can do anything that I set my mind to, but also do anything. Yeah, it's basically that. It's basically that I can do anything that I can set my mind to, regardless of the just dyslexia that I have. It can be on a creative aspect, or it can be on an educational aspect, and I love both sides of it. And it's also by taking my time on my work and needing assistance only if needed, if I feel stuck on anything. So I feel that and the other thing is something that influenced me is sharing what I love, and that it can be any kind of art. It can be anything that I'm interested in. It can be dancing, it can be acting, it can be drawing, painting, anything that I love with other people. And yeah, I can say one of those things has definitely influenced me. Being around certain people, and then sharing what I love, and being educated for that.
Thank you.
So for me, I think just having something that at times I've been ashamed of, I think it's helped me be more empathetic for other people. And because I know that there are my own limitations, it's helped me kind of be more open-minded about maybe what abilities other people have, and to try to be more careful in my language. It's also, since I'm somebody who worries a lot about things, I'm very like detail oriented. And in past jobs, I've been able to think of like worst case scenarios to help think of like better ways that we can prepare for things. That was something I got on like a job review once, was that was helpful. So there's my positives.
That can be very helpful thinking of the worst possible scenario.
Okay, something that's positive with my disability. If I wasn't like this, I'd probably be a mean guy or something like that, and coming home late for wherever I am. But having this disability or doing nothing what I want to do, but having this disability is good because I'm very open and honest, and I'm an open book. I'm a trustworthy person. I love talking to people. I don't judge people, because why would I judge if I don't want to be judged myself? So, and I'm a very outgoing person. Even though if I can't do any physical stuff, I like joining clubs, going to parties, going to sport events, watching people do sports like football or cross country, track, whatever. And so I'm a very outgoing person, and I'm a very lovable person. So if I didn't have this disability, I probably wouldn't, or this mindset, I probably wouldn't have the courage to do any of that.
It's really nice to hear, Juan.
And I would like to point out that Juan is probably the most popular guy I know because he's everywhere. His wheelchair takes him through school, and everybody sees him, everybody talks to him, and it's just great to see how he expresses his disability in a positive way.
You know, Juan is probably one of the most positive people I've met. He doesn't let his disability really get down his mood. I've had a class with him before, and I don't think I've ever seen him in a bad mood. I don't think he is able to be in a bad mood.
It takes a lot for me. But thank you guys for all the support and all the nice things you said about me. Appreciate it.
No problem, man.
What about you, Emily?
I feel like it has affected or has like influenced my life like in a positive way, especially like graduating high school and getting through like all throughout grade school, like especially with the challenges I had when I was younger. I think that it's just such an accomplishment for me to be here at JJC to this day, especially since I feel like also with my disability it's helped me like kind of become like a creative person, and like I'm very passionate about like especially things like that I'm interested in, and also when it comes to like either like TV shows, movies, or even when it comes to music and mental health. I feel like definitely started to have more of an interest in mental health my senior year when I took psychology, and that kind of influenced like the career that I want to go down. And I just think that I just want to help people who have either help people with mental health and also help people like with disabilities. I just think I just want to make a difference. Even though like I am more on the reserve side, but like I'm willing to like be there for anyone if anyone needs to talk and if anyone needs any help and things like that. I think like also when it comes to like something like being observant and like just taking the time to like listen and knowing what's wrong and I just think that that's something positive does happen with my disability.
Thank you. And finally, Esley.
I would say my visual impairment has affected me positively because it's allowed me to see things in a different way. So I would say it's got me to be creative in that way. There's certain times where I come up with things of how to like do certain things, rather it's schoolwork or playing playing a game or something like that, or even coloring or like doing art, things like that. It's got me to be really creative. And then there's sometimes where people come up with things and I just like get surprised because I didn't even think of that. So like not only the ability for me to be creative, but other people sometimes to be creative as well. And then also patience is a really big one for me because having to wait sometimes for certain things to be accessible when it comes to school, or having to wait to get visual help for like any type of, not any test, but some tests that I would like to do. And sometimes having to wait like to get a ride and things like that. So I would say creativity, patience, and then also meeting other people, learning about different people's lives, not only people who are visually impaired or blind, but people with disabilities as well. I feel like I wouldn't have met any of you guys and then also not have possibly been in this club as well if I didn't have a disability. I mean, I know we can have people without disabilities, but like I feel that if I didn't have a disability, I wouldn't necessarily try to join. Part of me it does though, because I feel like I would still have the same personality that I have, and I still would want to work with kids. And that's another thing I want to work with kids, and I feel like the patience and the creativity really helps me because I'll be able to do that for the children as well.
And I'd like to say something about Esley. She's very outgoing. She got me into this club. She pushes me to join more. She's a really good person, a really great person I ever met in my life. She and surprises me more. She worked with my brother too, since she wanted to work with kids, and my brother is also visually impaired. So she taught me a few things to help my little brother. And also, what surprises me about her is that her senses are stronger than others because every time I walk by, she smells my clothes or whatever I'm wearing. I'm like, wow, Esley, I am. So, Esley is a great person to get to know.
Thank you. Thank you. You too.
I think that all our disabilities have positively impacted us, because if we all were neurotypical, didn't have disabilities, we might not all have been friends. We might have not gone to JJC. And for me, I don't think I would have joined this club. It would have been something I didn't feel like I should be a part of. But I am really happy that I joined. This is my first year. I came to one meeting, became social media manager. The next one I was a secretary. So I do really appreciate all of you, and it's just really great to have a nice group of friends.
if I may add something.
Yes, you may.
So, going off of what Esley and Emily said, it's because I was 15 when I had my AVM rupture, stroke, whatever you want to call it. I knew stuff beforehand, but after obtaining a disability, it's very educational, knowing that there's a whole nother world almost to learn about. Like, you hear about stuff, but being in that situation is very different because you see firsthand on what things are like. Like, you see people in wheelchairs often, but to be one of the people who had to use one at one point changes your perspective in a big way. Also, I wouldn't have been able to meet all of you awesome people on the screen and make such good friends with you guys. I really appreciate you guys. And one final thing that nobody thinks about, because we have disabilities, we don't get called for jury duty.
And none of us can be drafted into the war, so that is a big positive.
Yeah, those are
Having a
positives.
disability.
No, don't go out and purposely get a disability just so you can get that.
Actually,
We're not encouraging that.
I've been called into jury duty twice in my life.
Really?
Denied it.
It's very easy for us to get out of jury duty because we have disabilities. They'll send us one and just, oh, I have a disability. And they're like, oh, no, you don't have to go.
So don't intentionally go and get a disability just to get out of jury duty and to not get recruited into the armed forces. That is a disclosure, so we cannot get sued.
I second what Mason said. Don't go out and get yourself disabled just to, avoid the military. Also, to join our club, you don't have to have a disability to join DAC.
Yes.
Yeah, we are accepting. You just have to be enrolled in at least 1 credit hour at JJC, and then you can join this lovely, sometimes very disorganized bunch of people, but we make it work. We have a lot of fun. So if
We have
anybody,
disabilities, give us a break.
yeah.
It's true.
So unless anybody has anything to close, any remarks, we can close out for the first ever Virtual Disability Awareness Day panel.
Thank you so much for everybody who's watching. Hopefully this, even for a second, gives you a little insight on what it's like to have a disability, no matter if it's an educational or any other way. That's all we want, is to have people understand.
And opens your mind to think a little bit differently. Now, have you been hurt hearing this and seeing this physically? So thank you for watching us, awesome people.
Thank you so much to everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
You can follow us on Instagram at JJCDAC, and if you are a member of Joliet Junior College and you want to join our club, you just have to email us at disabilityawarenessclub@jjc@gmail.com. Thank you guys for watching.
This is a session on a term you may or may not have heard, but it's my spin on this term, and it's called fierce advocacy. So if you go out and look at the term, you'll see all sorts of different ways that people see it. But my way of seeing being a fierce advocate is that it boils down to being kind. Because when you are really in the right, you have that ability to be fierce and respectful, fierce and kind, fierce and determined, but you leave room for people to grow. This tiger does not have to hunt for you to know it's a tiger. And so one of the most exciting parts of what I want to say to you today is that it is not a contradiction to be fierce and kind. I think of it as kind of the mama bear, papa bear thing. Those are my cubs. You know they're my cubs. Have a nice day. And so we know we don't have to be told. We don't have to have the bear run at us to know we shouldn't be by a bear's cubs. And that's all about being clever. That's all about making sure that you use humor and wisdom and your best thoughts to make sure that you are as positive as you can be because you're really in the right. Now, one of the things that I love about this image, it's a chess player. It's a game of chess and it's a chess piece and it has a crown. Is it a king? Is it a queen? And does it matter? I am going to tell you that being an advocate isn't about just one domain. It's not just about disabilities, and it's not just about race or religion or age. It's about all of them. And so I want to share with you a campaign called Love Has No Labels, and it is universally fierce. So you're watching two people stand behind an X-ray screen. I think they're kissing. Yep, that's what I think. And people in the crowd are watching them. Kind of curious, like, what's going on over there? You know how nosy we are. And the skeletons walk from behind the screen and pop their little heads out. There's one girl with long hair and one girl with short hair. And people are smiling and laughing and clapping and making funny faces. And they embrace and they hug. And people clap. And people shake their heads. And people are dancing skeletons now. Now we have people behind the screen that are dancing. One tall, one short. And they walk out and they embrace. And two little skeletons are doing their dance. And they peek their little heads out from behind the screen. And the sisters hold hands. Big sis, little sis. Love has no disability, says the sign. And the people in sign language. And the man with his cane identifying. Three skeletons dancing. Two big, one little. Two dads kiss and proudly hold up their little boy. And a couple representing that age does not stop love, encourage others to embrace. Here come the little ones. Oh, one more hug. And now the skeletons come out. Love starts in the little ones. We haven't taught them any words yet. Love has no race. Two religious leaders, female religious leaders, bowing and dancing and smiling. Two religious leaders embracing.
My heart doesn't see race. Love has no age limits.
That's my best friend.
We are neighbors and best friends.
We all have different religions, but we have universal love as well.
I love my sister.
Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
So when it says love has no labels in this little video, what it's wanting us to remember, and what's really critical whenever you look at this, any kind of advocacy like this, is that you know you are right. So you don't have to scream and you don't have to yell, and you can take that patience and that time to let other people see what you see. So when I say fierce, my definition of fierce is nothing is so strong as gentleness, and nothing is so gentle as real strength. As opposed to, I have to shout my ideas at you. Why do you got to shout? If you're right, you shouldn't have to lift your voice. You should be prepared. Be prepared to get different reactions. Because if you're educating only people who agree with you, that's not really educating, is it? And it's not really prepared to just run out, and we know this. Gosh, do we know this after this year, to buy as much toilet paper as you can. So these rolls of toilet paper represent what people thought would prepare them for this pandemic. Did it turn out that toilet paper was the problem? Confidence in your thoughts and in your direction needs to be earned. You need to earn that. You need to earn it from yourself as an advocate, and you need to learn it. And the people that you deal with, they have to learn that they can trust you to see things in a way that sees their views and your views. And there's a picture of a swimmer that I chose because this man really impressed me with his strength. And you may look at him and go, oh, this isn't a strong guy. But look again. Look again at his stark ability to stand with one leg in front of a pool, adjusting his goggles with pride and determination. There is a site called Pexels, and I really need to give them a shout out, a little advocacy, because when they put models that are a person who is different, who has what we might think of as a disability, they're putting him climbing a rock wall. They're putting him swimming a pool. They're putting him lifting weights with a look of concentration. They are not hiding how he is different. They are not hiding, and he is not hiding, that he can be beautiful and deal with an amputation. He can stand there in a swimming suit and trunks. I dare any of us to stand there that open and that brave, because this is fierce. He is fierce as he has his prosthetic leg and does his sit-ups and his body is ripped and cut. He is fierce. It also requires insight. It requires self-exploration. It requires knowing, you know what? I tend to over-explain. You know what? I tend to be a perfectionist. You can accept those traits, but you also have to know when to send the project to Esley, right, Esley? And so when I looked at this young lady, some people might see a young, beautiful woman with Down syndrome, but I see a young, beautiful woman with determination. Her yoga poses, if you notice, she is very confident, very beautiful in her own skin, in her own space. And with her hair falling from her shoulder and her trainer helping her with this beautiful yoga pose, she is sublime. She is fierce. She is absolutely lovely. And in this picture, everybody's fierce because they're holding their ankles and their chin is on the floor. And I don't know what pose this is. I think I would call it pain. I'm sure there's some yoga name for it. But as they achieve these same goals, as they work through these same levels to get to places, she shows her beauty. She shows her strength. As they hold hands and their feet touch, and you see that look of concentration on both of their faces. You see that beautiful body position. It makes me proud for her. And you have to trust in your process. There is a smile on her face that really resonates with me as she looks at her trainer. I'm not sure if you call a yoga trainer or a yoga coach, because I need the yoga because I'm not yogaing. But I look at this girl and I am so proud for her as she drinks her water, as she cleanses herself, as she says, I did this beautiful thing with my yoga mat. I see trust in her process, trust in her insight. Because balance is what it's about. If you are screaming, no one's listening. If you're always listening, you're never talking. You have to find your balance. And this beautiful young woman holding up her scale, her measure, her balance. It's different for everybody, but it requires what? It requires courage. And in these images, as an advocate, she is showing what? She is showing my black slip on my white skin with my black prosthetic arm with my beautiful white flowers. This is art. And in the second picture, that burst of color, that blue and pink hair, you scream from the rooftops, my beautiful girl. She is a pronouncement. She is a statement. And you may not care what she's saying, but I sure do. And I think she represents her shiny black prosthetic arm as a thing of beauty, as a thing that is part of her that she is owning. Again, fierce. Now, as we look at these two men, we see two arms outreached. We see a connection. We see a hand being fitted in a prosthetic arm and a hand holding a prosthetic arm. And I think this is a sign of equality. This is a sign of respect. Their arms could be switched at any point. There could be no question that they are of equals, that they are of respect, that they are a team. And that's really what it takes to be in your own headspace, your own swing. The swing is out over a waterfall that is by obviously a great big cannon with those bare feet hanging off into space. But that ability to look at that vantage point, to see yourself as equal to a challenge, takes a lot of courage and a lot of insight to know exactly how far and how much you are willing to give, and also knowing your limitations, because when you can't pull back and you can't set those limits, there's nothing left of you to give to anyone. Now, the next kind of truth that I see about being a fierce advocate is knowing how you fit as an individual in a community, and as a community and an individual, because you may not have started your journey as an advocate, or you may have started it years ago. Esley has TikToks. Esley has created public service announcements for me. Juan has made me beautiful projects. And I'm sure a lot of you have a voice inside of you, but it takes that self-determination to recognize what? Beautiful beach scene, all these people getting ready to do a swim, by, try, I don't know what they're doing. They're going to do it. And the race has started. The race has started. The only question is, do we realize that we can step in and out as we need to? Are we prepared? Are we ever really prepared? In this way that a parent lets a child go forth and fly, as a mother robin goes, okay, and they bounce around on the ground. I don't know if you've ever seen when birds first learn to fly, the parents will bark at you and the little bird jumps around your yard and you're thinking, will this ever work? Do we ever really feel prepared to let people fail and get up? The answer is yes. We can fall and get up, and so can the people that we advocate for. So this relationship we have between ourselves and our community as a community of selves, has to have this beautiful sense of perspective and humor. I love the facial expression of the young lady. I love that look of humor and wit and thought and creativity. I can't give you words for that mischievous smile, but I wish it for you and the way that you create your pathway. Because as an advocate, you may just have to turn things upside down. You may have to find your own way to go forward. And that self-advocacy and self-determination in this presentation, after you watch it, I have links. So I hope that they will load it up for you so that everybody can see the links as well as the video, because I think it is very important to recognize that we are part of a community. And the more you can have a balanced responsibility for yourself, the more that you can be persuasive to others. If you are screaming or not listening, that's what you're going to get back. And if somebody screams at you, it doesn't mean you have to scream back. What is the kind of trite saying? You don't go to every argument you're invited to. There's no requirement I have to go. I'll be over there crowd surfing with the other people, because when you find your community, they will hold you up. When you find your voice, you notice he's holding a microphone. There's a musician, I believe, crowd surfing with hands holding him up. And you can see that as he is flat, his microphone is still speaking his truth. And that's what we have to do sometimes, is trust that we are speaking our truth. That's true advocacy. So now I show you a series of links that are damaged. If you take a look at these links, what you will notice is that they are tarnished, they are cut up, they are chipped. They're not perfect. They've been tested, and so have all of you. And so will you be on your journey to advocacy. Don't expect your links, the bonds that you have, not to be tested. Don't expect them not to feel pressure. The trick is you stay linked. And that means making sure that you find things like Disability Club, or you find the right resources that you need in disability services. Or outside of that, I know, Ivan, I know you'll be listening to this because you are a fierce advocate. Ivan and I stood on stage. I was the commencement speaker and he was the student speaker. And it was probably one of the most fulfilling nights of my life, because we had gone through so much together, and to stand there together really reminded me that there are things that you need to remember as you leave high school, as you leave college, and as you continue on. There are resources available to you. And I put in a lot of those links, because you start off with kindness. Kindness really is important. My kids grinding their teeth together, kindness is, and my kids will go, important, with their teeth together, gritted at me. But the idea is that is the only way you can hope to really change someone's mind, is by showing them something they haven't seen before. And it's okay to stumble. I have to tell you, I am a perfectionist. I've been promising Esley this. For anybody who doesn't know Esley, she is I believe, our current president of Disability Club. And I misspoke, or I tried to get the time down, or I have re-recorded this presentation. I can't tell you how many times. And I guess what I have to say to myself and to all of you is, it's okay to stumble. Just make it part of your dance. That is okay. Because when you advocate for yourself, it is a work in progress. You will advocate for yourself no matter what your abilities and your disabilities, no matter what audience you go in. You represent what you've defined yourself as. So whatever you have defined yourself as is how you will represent yourself. One of the funnest conversations I had with Juan was, he's like, well, I should do my project on, disabilities and cerebral palsy. And I said, you could do that, but you're a lot of things, Juan. You're funny, you're kind, you're a flirt. Juan is the biggest flirt. If you don't know him, he will do things like drop his phone around cute girls so they will pick it up for him. And then he acts all like, oh, thank you. I've also seen Juan work a crowd of girls with oh my God, you know what that tells me about you? I'm reading your body language. I read your hands. I read this. And they're eating it up like he's given a tarot reading. So when you look at this first link, it's how well do you advocate for yourself? And then there's some information on self-determination and your resources, because self-determination is that flirtatious smile of Juan's, is Esley dancing on the gym floor, is every time somebody tells you you can't and you ask for the time that you need on the test and they don't give it to you and you stand up for yourself. That's self-determination. You should have the freedom to ask for things without being judged. And if somebody does the judging, it's about them. You should have the authority to say, I don't know, or I do know, and this is why. It is perfectly okay to go, you know what? I don't really know about that. I'm going to go find out. You should have the support. You should know which of us respect that individual difference. There are some teachers out there who will do backflips to help you, and there are teachers out there who still have a way to come. And always, 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 you are making an impression, and I want you to make the best impression you can, because you are responsible for how you communicate. It is not okay. It's something silly I say in class, but I mean it. If you get excuse a vulgar term, but I mean it. If you get in a pissing contest with a 5-year-old, you're going to get your feet wet because you just went down to their level. You have to take the responsibility to let somebody else be childish without always needing to tell them. They know, you know. Where are we going with pointing out their flaws? Doesn't take us anywhere. Be responsible for yourself. And I kind of want to close with this memory. And again, for the 15th time I recorded, I'm still almost at 20 minutes. I have not met somebody with a disability that I would ever call a prince or princess. I wouldn't call them royalty. I'd call them rock stars. Because when I see how hard people struggle to get the respect they deserve, I really can say nobody's riding for free. They'd be rock stars. Thank you.
Hello again. What a great event. COVID has made things difficult, but but I am very happy and proud of our club for overcoming this difficult, challenging, frustrating situation and still hosting a Disability Awareness Day in 2020, albeit virtually. We hope you enjoyed this video and were able to gain a deeper insight and understanding into people and students with disabilities. In my experience, people with disabilities just want to be treated as people. Sure, they may need accommodations to help them with certain things day to day, but they are no different than you or I. We encourage everyone to listen, to sympathize but not belittle, to encourage but not glamorize, to take the time to understand that everyone is different, but everyone deserves respect, equality, and a voice. Again, thank you for taking the time to view our video today. We hope you enjoyed it and look forward to seeing everyone on campus next year at Disability Awareness Day 2021. Until then.